Thank you for the time this morning, Boog. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, man. How you guys doing down there?
Doing
Doing
good.
well. Thank
Tell
you.
me what the you've been a part of the NFL for so long. You're one of the faces that we think of when we think of the brand. What do you think the NFL? What do you think of the NFL on this Monday morning? How it's kind of transitioned over the last week?
Well, I think it's definitely changed. I think it had to change. I think it changed when Roger Goodell recorded that message and sent it out. And I don't think it can go back now. I think that when the president sent another message to, I guess, the NFL or whoever, saying, is Roger Goodell going to kind of backtrack, and I'm paraphrasing, backtrack on his statement that all players had to stand for the national anthem. I just think it's another opportunity or another situation where he's trying to hijack the message. And I think the NFL and the unity that happened after the Drew Brees interview has been it's been great. It's been dialogue. It's been coaches. It's been black. It's been white. It's been everyone trying to come together and just to try to further the message, man. Let's not get bogged down on what happened, but let's try to move it forward. And I think that's what you see happening so far. I just hope that the president's recent message or recent tweet or whatever it was doesn't convolute the message again, because I think that, regardless of how you felt about what Drew Brees said, and I think I've been on record and stated that, I have to take him for his word that he's going to try to change. And if he's going to try to change, I'm going to give him an opportunity to do that. And, his teammates have forgiven him, and there's still a lot of work to be done. So let's see where it goes from here.
Boog, what was your reaction when you saw that video featuring, I mean, these superstars of the NFL? I mean, the guy that's in that. I mean, you got all decade members, you got all pros, but then you got Pat Mahomes, the face of the NFL, Super Bowl MVP Young, and basically coming together to make the NFL make a stand. What was your reaction to the video?
Well, I think it was the first time we've seen this shift where the NFL took on the likes of the NBA. And here's what I mean by that. The NBA has always basically been ran by LeBron, Chris Paul, like the most visible and high-profile players. That's been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
I think we saw the first time that the NFL kind of leaned toward that way. Anytime the face of the NFL, Patrick Mahomes, comes out and he says he's on board, and DeAndre Hopkins and Michael Thomas and Ezekiel Elliott, and everyone comes on board, I mean, Roger said it best. Like, there is no NFL without the black players. So yep. I think we saw a shift where the players started to take on ownership in the NFL the way the NBA has had for a long, long time.
And so you kind of mentioned it. Now the thing is, the NFL is going to be caught between the players on one side and then the same forces that they were trying to appease by not allowing kneeling a few years ago. When push comes to shove, which way do you think the NFL will end up falling?
Well, I don't think they can go backwards. I think they're at a point now where, based on the statement that the commissioner made, I think that's the only way they can go.
Yeah.
However, it's going to be paramount based on what happens with the owners, because we know this is the owner of the league. It's their team. They'll work for the owners. So it's going to be interesting in the coming days if and when they make a statement as far as a collective group of ownership or whether it's individually. But I think the owners have to say something, right? Because if they don't, then we're headed to kind of a D-Day on that first preseason game or that first regular season game when all these players take a knee.
Look, what's your thought about the Saints locker room at this point? What are they dealing with right now, in your opinion?
You know what? It's a little turmoil, but I've been a part of a lot of locker rooms, man, and it's the most open place to be able to talk and have dialogue that I've ever been in. And if you're the Saints and you're Drew Brees, and they had this 100-minute meeting or whatever the other day, and Shaq was on the meeting, and it was a great dialogue. I have no doubt that that's going to be the first of many meetings like that, and so it's good for them that they had that. But I don't think it's the end, but it was a great beginning. And T-Bob, you've been a part of locker rooms, man. Like, when you walk in that locker room, it's not about color. You know what it's about? It's about guys coming and doing what's right and trying to win And it doesn't matter if you're black, white, it doesn't matter if you're rich, poor. That's what it's about. And so I think that's what's going to eventually happen in the locker room. It may take a little time to get there.
What do you think the responsibility is of college football coaches? O made a comment to Sports Illustrated last week. It was very cut and dry. He doesn't stand for racism. It will not stand in his program. What do you think the responsibility of college coaches is? And my question is aimed at Dabo Swinney. It seems like he's under the spotlight right now.
I think college coaches have always came into the house or the homes of parents and basically said, we're going to be a mentor for your kids. And we're going to teach them right from wrong. We're going to help them become a man. And I think if you're a college coach, that's still your job. And you got to talk about the tough issues. And, the incident that Dabo had as far as the coach using the N-word on the field, I would have expected Dabo to handle that. It doesn't sound like he did, and therefore, Dabo's having to deal with it now. But in the end, I got to think that from a mentorship standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, Dabo and the college coach has got to do more than the NFL coach, because these are young men. These aren't necessarily grown men at that point. So I would expect Dabo and O and Nick Saban and everybody else to do more than the professional coach. The professional coach is dealing with grown men. And so I can make my own decision. I can do what I should be able to do as a grown man. When you're a 17, 18, 19-year-old, man, you're looking for guidance.
Talking to Booger McFarland here on 104.5 worthy 94.7 ESPN. Boog, this may be a bit personal, but one thing I'm trying to do with a lot of the people that I talk to right now is I think one of the best ways to kind of wrap your head around a lot of stuff is to try to empathize, right? To try to get other people's points of views and some of their life experiences. And I guess with that, what was your experience growing up in the South as a black man?
I'll say it this way. The older I got and the more I progressed, the less I saw just simple things as people treating me differently because I was black. When you're 10 years old and you're growing up in a town that the biggest thing in the town is Walmart. It's not a high economic value town like Winsboro, Louisiana. You see things. My mother taught me what it was like for her to grow up when she was born in 1955. Okay, so she made me understand that I would be looked at differently in the current day. And so you go back to, I was born in 77, so this is 92, 93, somewhere in there. There were a couple of instances, but nothing that I would call earth-shattering. But what's happened to me as I've gotten older and as I become more prominent, I tend to see it less because people know that I have a platform now to call it out. Whereas, when you're no one and you say something, nobody's going to pay attention to you. But now that I have a platform, starting when I got to LSU, when I went to Tampa, when I went to Indy, and then when I got involved in the media, people know that, not that I'm a powerful guy or anything, but I do have a platform, and if I speak, people will notice. So I tend to see it less and less. But what's happening, T-Bob, is that the people that have no voice, the people that have no platform, those are the people that are out in the streets protesting. Those are the people that are trying to be heard. Those are the people that continue to try to have a message presented to others. And I think it's impactful and powerful when the people like myself, the people like you guys that have a radio show, can be the voice for the others. And I think that's what our responsibility is. The Bible even talks about it. To whom much is given, much is expected. We've been given jobs in the media where we get to touch and talk to a lot of people. Yeah. And I think there's a responsibility from myself, from you guys, to anyone, to be able to take whatever message we want to share, and hopefully it's a positive message, and to bring light and shine light on things to make sure the bottom line is this, is that I want everybody to be treated how I would want to be treated. And I think if we just follow that rule, man, a lot of our issues will go away. If I treat you, T-Bob, how I want to be treated, there will be no racism. There will be no prejudice. There will be no injustice from that standpoint. Now, I'm still going to I'm still going to rib and talk about how fast you are, but that's not racism.
No, that's
just
friendship.
you and I having fun.
Yeah, it's friendship.
Exactly.
That's right.
That's very well
good.
said,
Yeah,
Boog.
it
And
is.
that's, I think that's, yes, that, thank you.
Social expectation. That's good stuff. Boog, it's always good to catch up with you. Thank you, man.
Anytime. Y'all have a good one.
All right, you
there
look
is
fat.
Booger McFarland.